Now, Valmiki takes us a bit far. He takes us to describe how beautiful the season is. This was Hemanta Ritu. Hemanta Ritu is pre-winter season. So this Hemanta Ritu has been exquisitely described by Mahakavi Kalidas in one of his works called as Ritu Samharam. In Ritu Samharam, he talks about 6 seasons. In that he mentions about Hemanta Ritu. He says, Vini patita tusharaha Kraunchanadopageetaha Pradishutu himayuktaha Kalayeshaha Priyanvaha. For lovers to come together, this is the apt season, says Kalidas. Whereas Valmiki says, all the Karjura Pushpa means the paddy crops. All the paddy crops had their heads which were full of paddy. Due to the heavy weight, they all started bending down. Since they all bent down, Govindaraja, that is the commentator, says that Valmiki wants to intimate us that all these paddy crops which had bent their head towards the ground due to the heavy weight were like those rishis whose heads were full of knowledge, but all their heads bent towards the feet of Ram. Karjura pushpa kritibhi shirobhi purna tandulaihi shobhante kinchidalambha shalayaha kanakaprabha. With this in mind, with the beauty of Hemanta Ritu in his mind, Ram turned towards Sita and said, Hey Sita, you were the Janaka Nandini, you were the daughter of Janaka, you are the daughter-in-law to Dasharatha, you are the wife to Ram. But I'll tell you one thing, Sita, the best thing that has ever happened in my life is that you, Sita, you are my wife. Sahadharmacharini me tvam pranebhyopi gariyasi sadrisham chanurupam cha kulasya tava shobhane. In turn, Sita told Ram, Hey Ram, I can never even imagine a moment where I can even be without you. I pray, please don't go away from me, and please don't even think this is a game so that you can be away from me. Tyagaraja very beautifully brings out this feeling, these feelings of Sita in a very beautiful kriti. Nannu vidachi kadala kurama Ramaya Rama Nannu vidachi kadala kurama Ramaya Rama Kodanda Rama Kalyana Rama Pattabhirama Ramaya Vadalaku Ramaya Ninnu basi aranimishmorvanura Ninnu basi aranimishmorvanura Nannu vidachi kadalaku Rama Bagugananneluko muila Bagugananneluko muila Tyagarajanو tatanu nizomo Nannu vidachi kadalaku Rama Ramaya Rama Kodanda Rama Kalyana Rama Pattabhirama Ramaya Vadalaku Ramaya All this time, Ram was talking to Sita and Sita was talking to Ram. Poor thing, they had left Lakshmana. Now immediately Ram turned towards Lakshmana and said, I am waiting for that day, Lakshmana, so that Bharata, Shatrughna, Lakshmana and myself, all of us could get together. But if you see logically, Ram said that we should get together with Bharata and Shatrughna, which is logical because Bharata and Shatrughna were in Ayodhya and Ram and Lakshman were here. But Ram said, Kada hyaham sameshyami Bharatena Mahatmana Shatrughnena Chavirena Tvaya cha Raghunandana. Bharatena Mahatmana, the great Mahatma Bharata, Shatrughna Chavirena, this is Shatrughnena Chavirena, the great warrior Shatrughna, Tvaya, and with you. Is it logical to say that when will the day come so that both of us could get together? They are already together. This means what? For all the 14 years period of their exile in Vanam, Ram never thought that Lakshmana was his brother. He thought that he had come to the forest to execute his father's commands and Lakshmana had come to serve him. So there was no brother-brother relationship during the 14 years. That is why he said, Kadahyaham sameshyami Bharatena Mahatmana Shatrughnena Chavirena Tvaya cha Raghunandana. All this was happening. People generally think that during Aranya Kandam they did not live happily. They were happy, but now comes the turning point. Now comes Shurpanakha into picture. Now Valmiki has to immediately put forth all the Sanskrit verses how to compare Shurpanakha and Ram. He gives beautiful comparisons, all oxymorons, and he gives all antonyms. He says, Sumukham. Who's Sumukham? Ram. How was she? Durmukhi. She had a bad face. Vrittamadhyam. Vrittamadhyam means Ram had a very slender waist. Mahodari. Shurpanakha had a hip which could not be found because her entire body was like a pillar. There was no curve, there was no bend anywhere. Visalaksham. Eyes were very huge to Ram. Actually, people who have huge and wide eyes are very beautiful. Virupakshi. Her eyes were so ugly that it could not be even seen by a person. How were his hair? Sukesham, beautiful hair. Chikuram, Bahulam, Viralam, Brahmaram, Mrudulam, Vachanam, Vipulam, Nayanam. Beautiful eyes, beautiful hair, says the poet. Sukesham, Ram's hair were very beautiful. Tamramurdhaja, her hair, the color of her hair was like copper color. Even today people have started coloring hair. So coloring of hair was done even in those days. Tamramurdhaja. Tamram means copper in color. Tamramurdhaja. Priyarupam. He had a very lovely shape. Virupa. She was out of shape. Suswaram. Ram's voice was very beautiful. Bhairavaswana. Her voice was like ours. Very bad. Tarunam. He was young. Daruna Vridha. She was as old as possible. Nyaya Vrittam. He always spoke righteousness. Sudurvrita. She always had bad conduct in her talks. Priyadarshana. The entire darshanam of Bhagavan was so beautiful. Apriyadarshana was Shurpanakha. So, when Valmiki gave all these verses itself, we can see and visualize how Shurpanakha would have been. But she, as soon as she saw Ram from a distance, she knew very well that she was ugly. So since she was a Rakshasi, she could change her shape. She disguised her form into that of a beautiful dancer and came. Here, people whoever have read Ramayanam, whoever have seen Ramayanam, have missed one point. They have seen that Shurpanakha came in Ram's life. Ram and Lakshmana together, they did Shurpanakha Garva Bhangam, and then she immediately went and complained to Karadushana. They were killed and she went to Ravana. But why should she go before Ram? With what intention did she go? All of them convey the message that she was interested in getting Ram as her husband, which is just the secondary meaning to it. The primary cause or the reason was she wanted to take revenge for her husband's death. Who was her husband? Her husband was no good person. He was also as bad as her. His name was Vidyut Jiva. This Vidyut Jiva had a tiff, had a battle with Ravana. Ravana, despite knowing that Vidyut Jiva was his sister's husband, he killed Vidyut Jiva. So, Shurpanakha, as a wife to Vidyut Jiva, wanted to take revenge on Ravana, despite knowing that Ravana was her brother. So, she knew very well from far off distance itself that Ram had all the powers. So, somehow she wanted to make Ram as the cause and take revenge on Ravana. That is why Kamban, the Tamil poet Kamban, when he introduces how she disguised herself as a beautiful dancer and walked before Ram, he puts the word poison. And he says she wanted to be the poison in Ravana's life, as well as she wanted to get Ram as her husband. நீலமாமணி நிற நிறுத்தர் வேந்தனை மூலநாசம் பெற முடிக்கும் மொய்மினாள் மேலை நாள் உயிரோடும் பிறந்து தான் விளை காலம் ஓர்த்து உடன் உரை கடிய நோயானாள். She became a virus. She became a bacteria in Ravana's life. It is because of her all the incidents in Ramayanam will take a turn. Now, she disguised herself in the form of a beautiful celestial dancer. She has to walk in such a way that her walk itself impresses Ram. And the Tamil poet Kamban has to describe the verse, her walk, in such a way that when we read itself, we come to know that lady is walking. Look at the way he uses the words. பஞ்சி உளிர் வெஞ்சு குளிர் பல்லவ மணுங்க செஞ்சவிய தஞ்சனிமி சீரடியளாகி அம்சு இள மங்க என அன்ன என மின்னும் வஞ்சி என நஞ்சம் என வஞ்ச மகள் வந்தாள். Look at the way he describes. If you visualize and put the same beat to which Shurpanakha walks, it will match. பஞ்சி உளிர் வெஞ்சு குளிர் பல்லவ மணுங்க செஞ்சவிய கஞ்சனிமிர் சீரடியளாகி அம்சொல் இள மஞ்சையென அன்னமென மின்னும் வஞ்சியென நஞ்சமென வஞ்ச மகள் வந்தாள். Whenever someone comes to our doorstep, we generally ask, if we know the person, we'll call him inside or her inside. Now Ram asked, could you please introduce yourself, my dear lady? Who are you? Some people have a very beautiful way of talking. They will say that I am so and so's son. They'll keep it quiet. But some of them will say, in 1932 there was one particular person. He had 3 brothers. The third brother had 3 daughters, and to the third daughter there were 4 children, and out of the 4 children, the first went to UK, the second went to US, the third went to Australia, the fourth did not go anywhere. I am that fourth one. So this is how they'll introduce. So people whoever talk like this are all descendants of Shurpanakha, because Shurpanakha did not give a short and a sweet reply. She should have said that I am Shurpanakha. Look at what she said. She said, there was a person, he lifted the entire Kailasha Parvatam. After having lifted the Kailasha Parvatam, Shiva appeared before him. He gave him a weapon. In turn, he was very happy. This person sung Samaganam to Shiva, and at the end of it, with all the boons that he had acquired from Brahma, all the devas, be it Agni started cooking in his kitchen, and then Vayu started cleaning using the vacuum cleaner, then Varuna used all the water to mop the floor, and all the devas started dancing in his courtroom, and there were all this Menaka and Tulottama who gave the beetle leaf to him after eating, and to that great person I am the only sister. பூவிலோன் புதல்வன் மைந்தன் புதல்வி முப்புறங்கள் செற்ற சேவலோன் துணைவனான செங்கையோன் தங்கை திக்கின்மா எல்லாம் தொலைத்து வெள்ளிமலை எடுத்து உலகம் மூன்றும் காவலோன் பின்னை காமவல்லியாம் கன்னி என்றாள். My name is Kamavalli. I am the one who is longing for love. I am a personification of lust. This is how she introduced to Ram. Now it was Ram's turn, after hearing to such a huge lecture from Shurpanakha, to say something about himself. He said, I am Ram. I am the son of Dasharatha and Kaushalya. But she was very inquisitive. Even most of the people these days, they are very inquisitive. They'll ask, where were you born? Whom were you born to? Who are all your ancestors? Even she started asking, Ram, you have said that you are the son to King Dasharatha and you are the son to Kaushalya. Please tell me something about your family. Even I am free. I know you are also sitting for free. Please tell me some information. Immediately Ram said, My father Dasharatha was a person who could ride all his chariot in all the 10 directions. He was a great administrator. He was a great philosopher. He had 3 wives. The first most important wife was Kaushalya. To that Kaushalya, I am the only son Ram. Then she asked, how is your father right now? As if she was very much bothered about Ram's father's health. Ram said, my father has already passed away. Had it been ourselves, we would have said, I'm very sorry for the message, whatever you said, Rama, I'm very sorry for your father. What Shurpanakha did was she sat on the ground. She took both her hands and started hitting on her chest and on her head and said, I am so sorrowful and I am so unhappy that my father-in-law has passed away. She did not even know whether Ram was married, and she herself was not married to Ram, but she acted as if she was already married to Ram and Dasharatha was her father-in-law. She started crying that my father-in-law has passed away. Once Sita heard that some lady was lamenting before her house, she came outside and stood next to Ram and asked, Hey Bhagavan, who is this lady? Why is she crying about my father-in-law passing away? Ram said, even I am very much confused. Let us wait and see what she has to say. Shurpanakha immediately asked Ram, who is this lady who is standing next to you? Ram said, she is my wife Sita. Immediately the expressions of Shurpanakha changed. She looked at Sita as if she was going to eat Sita in a single gulp. And when Sita saw the bad evil eyes which were cast on her by Shurpanakha, she immediately turned towards Ram and went under his shoulders. She said, Bhagavan, why is she looking at me like that? Bhagavan then told Shurpanakha, Hey Shurpanakha, she is my wife Sita and I am already married. Shurpanakha said, I am okay with it. I don't mind coming as a second wife to you. Are you ready to marry me? Ram said, I have already taken a vow that I will not marry more than a single lady. She is my Sahadharma Charini. She is my legal wife and I am the legal husband to her. We do not have any plans to remarry. At this point of time, Shurpanakha got really angry and she said, Bhagavan, is this right on your part? I need to marry you. Then Ram said, see, I may look very strong, but I am dark complexioned. This lady Sita, she lost all her hopes and she was cheated and she married me. I believe you should marry a fair complexioned person. He will also look like me, but he will be more fair complexioned. He will not be as dark as me. So there is one person who's plucking flowers there. His name is Lakshmana. You go and ask him. Shurpanakha, she went before Lakshmana and repeated the same dialogue whatever she said before Ram. She said that my brother is so and so, I am the sister to so and so, and she immediately asked Lakshmana, where is your father? He said, my father has already passed away, and she repeated the same lamenting whatever she did for Dasharatha before Ram. Lakshmana knew that she was replaying it. He immediately asked Shurpanakha, I am also married, but I will tell you one thing, my wife was very angry with me and she sent me to the forest, but look at Ram, he is such a loving husband, because of which Sita has accompanied him to the forest, so you better go and ask him. Again she went there. Ram said that I cannot marry you. Then she came to know that the brothers were playing some kind of a game with the ball as her. Then she said, hey Ram, you are not marrying me because the Sita is in between us. I know very well that you have some interest for me. It is the Sita who is blocking our love. So she was immediately in a vengeance and she wanted to go kill Sita. At that point of time, Sita cried out, Ha Rama, Ha Lakshmana. Immediately Lakshman took an arrow and he cut the nose and the ears of Shurpanakha. This place where they had a hermitage, where they had an ashramam, and where Shurpanakha came and met Ram and Lakshmana, where she was about to consume Sita, at that point of which Lakshmana came and objected her and protected Sita by cutting the nose and ears of Shurpanakha, still exists in the state of Maharashtra. That place is even having the name which is coined after this particular incident. It is called Nasik. Even in Nasik today you have a beautiful place called as Nasik Panchavati. So whatever events happened during Ramayanam, what are all the places where Ram walked, all these places still exist in flesh and blood in our country. So we may say, or we can say that we don't have time, but we cannot deny the existence of Ramayanam. Bhanubhaktacharya in Nepali beautifully explains the way in which Shurpanakha Garvabhangam was done. He says, भार हर्न बीज प्रभु जिले तहीं रोपन आंध्या, लक्ष्मण जिलाई भनी नाक रकान कटाया, आज्ञानी लक्ष्मण जिले पनी काटी दिया, भागी इराई कन भाई जहां थिया. Tulsi goes one step further and he says, with this Garva Bhangam, even the start to Ramayanam was done. Lachiman atilaghav sonak kaan binukinhi, taake kar Ravan kah mano chunoti dinhi. Whereas Valmiki says, this lady who was already in a bad shape was put to a much bad shape with this particular incident. निकृत्त कर्णनासा तु विस्वरं सा विनिध्य च यथागतं प्रदुद्राव घोरा शूर्पणखावनम्. Shurpanakha took this as a very insulting and an embarrassing situation to her, and taking this in her memory, very firm in her memory, she went before her brothers. Her brothers have already said that all the demons fled to a place called Janasthanam. After they were staying in Dandakaranyam, they fled to a place called as Janasthanam. So her brothers were Khara, Dushana and Trishira. Actually, how were these Khara, Dushana and Trishira born as demons? There is one particular reference. They were the sons of Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya was a great Maharishi. He had three sons, Chandrakanta, Mahamedha, Vijaya. All these were the three sons of Yajnavalkya. But because of their misconduct, they were cursed by Shiva to be born as Kara, Dushana and Trishira, and they were told that they will be living in a place called as Janasthanam. So these were the brothers to Shurpanakha. Shurpanakha went and cried before Kara and Dushana and said, "Hey my dear brothers, look at what has happened to me. Somebody has disfigured me. Is this right on your part as brothers to still stay?" Her brothers asked, "Hey Shurpanakha, tell us what really happened." What should Shurpanakha say? That there was a person called Ram. He had a brother called Lakshman. This Ram was married to Sita. I went there and Ram, along with the help of Lakshmana, especially this Lakshmana, chopped off my nose and my ears. This is what she should have said. But instead, she started praising Ram. Even Valmiki or Ramanujacharya or Adi Shankara cannot praise as beautifully as what Shurpanakha has praised about Ram. We have heard of Ramastuti and Ramashtakam from so many people. Now this is Shurpanakha's Ramastuti. She says, "Tarunau Rupa Sampannau Sukumarau Mahabalau Pundarika Visalakshau Chira Krishnanjinambarau." Now Shurpanakha was using all her grammar, Sanskrit grammar. In Sanskrit alone, we have singular, dvivachanam and the plural. If we check other languages, we have a single object and more than one comes in the plural. Ekavachanam, Bahuvachanam. Even in Hindi it is like that. Whereas in Sanskrit alone, we have one, that is singular, dual and plural. That is Ekavachanam, Dvivachanam, Bahuvachanam. So it is Ramaha, Ramau, Ramaha. Ramau represents dual. Now Shurpanakha was not only describing Ram, she was also describing Lakshmana. So she was describing Ram and Lakshmana as a duo. Tarunau Rupa Sampannau Sukumarau Mahabalau Pundarika Visalakshau Chira Krishna Jinambarau. We are hearing au everywhere, which indicates plural, that is dual. Here Tarunau, what does the word Tarunau mean? Both of them were young. Rupa Sampannau, both of them had lovely shape. Sukumaro, they were still young. Mahabalo, but just because they were young, don't assume that they are they are people having lesser strength. They are people who have great valor and strength. Mahabalo, Pundarika Visalaksho. Just because they have said that they have got great strength, it doesn't mean that their eyes are full of anger. No, they are like the newly bloomed lotuses. Pundarika Visalaksho. They are all Visalaksho. They have wide eyes, unlike me. You have seen my eyes, my dear brother. They are all very ugly, but their eyes were very beautiful. Chira Krishna Jinambaro. They were wearing beautiful dress. Palamula Shanaudanto. But these warriors were living only on fruits and tubers. Phalamoolashanodantau tapasau. They were looking like warriors, but they still were practicing a lot of penance. Brahmacharino, one of them had come with his wife, my dear brother Khara, but even then I thought he was practicing celibacy there. Brahmacharino Putrau, these two sons were the sons of which great king? Dasharathasyaastam. Why did she mention the word Dasharatha? Because all these demons knew this king called Dasharatha, because Dasharatha was such a great warrior who was even summoned by King Indra once during Sambharasura Yuddham, and it was because of Dasharatha that the heaven king Indra could win that particular war. So all these demons were aware of a particular great warrior called as Dasharatha. So when Shurpanaka would have said that they were the sons of Dasharatha, their aggressiveness could increase. With that intention she said, Putrau Dasharathasyaastam Bhratarau Rama Lakshmanau. Finally she said the names. These two brothers, their names are Ram and Lakshman. But if you see, her nose was cut, her ears were cut. Did she even repent for having lost most of her sensory organs? She was more bothered about describing those two young people. Why is it so? In the entire Ramayanam, you will find that all the demons do much better description than the devotees. Tara, who was the wife to Vali, after Vali's death, she has to come and curse Ram, but instead she praises him. Mandodari, who was the wife to Ravana, after Ravana's death, she should come and curse Ram, but she praises him. Shurpanaka, after having lost her nose and her ears, should curse Rama, but she praises him. What is the speciality of Rama? Because the great acharyas have said in Tamil, Urunal Mugathil Viditharai Andha Mugam Paduttum Padu. Even if you would have a single glimpse, even for a second, a glimpse of the beautiful face of Rama, they will bow down before Rama and keep down all their weapons. This was the Vaibhavam of Rama Mukham. This was the Vaibhavam of Rama Gunam. Now, Shurpanaka was telling all these things to her brothers Khara, Dushana and Trishira. This was happening on one side. Now on the other side, all the demons planned that our sister, our great Mata Shurpanaka has been insulted. Now we have to go and take revenge on those two people. What do those two people think of themselves? We are all powerful demons. Let us go and take revenge on those two people, Ram and Lakshmana. So 14,000 Rakshasas under the leadership of Khara, Dushana and Trishira, 14,000 people marched towards the hermitage of Ram and Lakshmana. Lakshmana could see from a distance that all these Rakshasas were coming. He immediately intimated to Ram. Ram called Sita and Lakshmana outside the hermitage and said, all three of us, let us go and stand near the mountain cliff. When they went, Ram told Lakshmana, Lakshmana, it is the right time for me to handle all these 14,000 people. You better take Sita and go inside this cave. I will stay outside this cave and I will protect both of you and I will fight all the 14,000 people. Lakshmana was surprised. He said, Bhagavan, I know that you are very powerful. I know that you have learnt all the astras and the shastras, but how is it possible for you to fight single-handedly against all those 14,000 people? I cannot let you stand alone. Then Ram said, listen to what I say. Get inside the cave with Sita. I can manage this war. Lakshmana, though he was not interested in leaving Ram alone, he had to listen to the words of his brother because he was not his brother at this point of time. He was Lakshmana's Bhagavan. So he immediately took Sita inside the cave and Ram was standing at the opening and he was fighting. All the 14,000 people came and all those 14,000 people, each of them were killed in just a second. All the 14,000 people were killed in a Muhurta Kalam. Together it took a Muhurta Kalam for Ram to kill. What is a Muhurta Kalam? A Muhurtam constitutes 48 minutes. So he took 48 minutes to kill all the 14,000 people. But again, Ram did not kill all the 14,000. If you remember in Balakandam, Ram along with Lakshmana on hearing the words of Vishwamitra marched with Vishwamitra to do the Yajna Samrakshanam. At that point of time, two Rakshasas came and attacked, Subahu and Maricha. I told you at that point of time itself, Ram committed a mistake. He killed Subahu and pushed Maricha 100 yojanas away, that is 800 miles away. Had he killed Maricha, there could have been no problem in Ramayanam later. But what he did was he killed Subahu and he gave a balance, he gave a leftover. That is, he left Maricha without killing him. Likewise, here 14,000 people came and attacked Ram. 13,999 people were killed except one. Ram always had this bad habit of giving some leftover or the other, whereas Krishna never had this habit. I've already said that Subahu was killed and Maricha was left. The same Maricha came in the form of a golden deer. He mesmerized Sita. Sita wanted the deer, so Ram went after him. At that point of time, Ravana came and abducted Sita, which will happen after a few minutes from now. The same way, how did Ravana get to know about Ram and Lakshman, who insulted his sister Shurpanaka? Because Shurpanaka did not go and inform Ravana. She just informed Kara and Dushana. That time there were no mobile phones. So Kara or Dushana could not have informed Ravana, who was in Lanka. How did Ravana come to know that all his brothers were killed, all the 13,999 people were killed, and that his sister Shurpanaka was insulted by Ram and Lakshmana?